How's everybody feeling? So I want to share a little bit about who I am before I delve into our journey into medical tourism. My name is Phillipa Sibanda, and originally from Zimbabwe. Started off life in aviation as a pilot. So I want to give a shout out to my sister here who's teaching on aviation. So having a mind that, is innovative in engineering, and it's a tinker mind. There's a type of person that has a tinker mind. I'm a tinker. So embracing that, I became a pilot. I flew to the United Kingdom exploring aviation and discovered while I was there the American Embassy, and discovered that Miami is where you needed to be. So found my way to Miami. This is like a 19-year-old flying into Miami and going to a historically black school, Florida Memorial University, and starting a journey which was amazing because I came in the right space and got acclimated very well into the United States. Great mentors. I had a military mentor who advised me that as a foreign national, I needed to be in a space where I would have there was a scarcity of job. There was a scarcity of skill set rather than to be in a place where I would have many of us applying for the same job. So at that time, aviation was going through some changes. He advised me, get a business degree at the moment because you've already taken these classes. And that's what I did. I ended up being a leader at AT&T at a very young age, 24. And I was a leader for 1,000 employees in a call center, and it was in Midland, Texas. So you can imagine, you grow a backbone in that situation. I learned that corporate America was not for me, and I was quickly able to adapt. And I just knew that I needed something different. I didn't know what I wanted to do per se. But coming from Zimbabwe, you come from a very strong science background. The education system in Zimbabwe, even till today, with all the challenges of Zimbabwe, still ranks in the top 10 of Africa. So it was no problem going back and taking anatomy and physiology and saying, you know what, I'm going to try out healthcare. I don't know what I'll do in healthcare, but I'll try out healthcare. I got mentored. I was always fortunate to have mentors along the way, and I got mentored into a career in respiratory, pulmonary medicine. Very specific, but the irony is that the Bernoulli principles in aviation are the same Bernoulli principle in healthcare. So you really don't change as a person. Even if you didn't really direct yourself in that direction, you simply just adapt. So that's what happened. I ended up spending the past 12 years in healthcare, working for Kaiser Permanente in California. 4 years ago, though, I had a vision that something was going to happen in Zimbabwe, and I needed to be there. I was going to be part of this transformation. So I packed my bags and went to Zimbabwe, and everyone laughed. They thought I was crazy to be going to Zimbabwe at a time when things were so difficult. But I'm so grateful I did, because now tracking back, we're almost at the 5-year mark. I have done so much work in the past 5 years that ordinarily would be impossible to do currently now in the current environment. And in that time, we've had a change of government. And while things may not be completely settled, our trajectory is definitely looking up for us, and we're looking forward to a lot of changes. So obviously, my main focus is healthcare. However, I spent the past 4 years in the startup space, working with entrepreneurs, having an innovation incubator. And in that time, I got an understanding of the Zimbabwean market, the challenges, the opportunities. And here's what I see. Zimbabwe continues to churn out highly educated healthcare practitioners that end up supporting the South African healthcare system, our neighboring Zambia. And I believe some statistics showed that second to Nigeria, Zimbabwe has the highest number of healthcare practitioners across the world in the diaspora. So I'm a typical diaspora that ended up going back home. And while it's great to have skills transfer, I know a lot of people talked about skill transfer today. We also have to acclimate to the cultural environment in Africa. It's a very different environment from the Western environment that we're accustomed to. So healthcare is not going to be practiced the same in California as it is in Texas, nor as it is in Harare. So there's always that need to acclimate. And I think for me, that was the biggest challenge. So in our startup space, we created a platform called Diaspora Insights. That's what connected with Toyin to be here today. So the insights that we get, all this learning that we get, needs to be documented, to be passed on, so that someone else can have an easier journey than what Phillipa had. And I think that is really part of the process. As they were speaking about diaspora coming back home, it can be very difficult, and it will be easier if there's that transitional phase. So I'm going to go into why I believe in medical tourism. So I'm not sure how many of you have had a chance to go to Victoria Falls or to come to Southern Africa. Any show of hands? So imagine having a knee surgery and being able to be at Elephant Hills in Victoria Falls and watching the elephants, during a sunset and having dinner while you heal. And let's talk about the power of healing. Will that really heal you? Because I work in California at Kaiser Permanente, and I see at nighttime bells and whistles going off all night long in the hospital systems, and I'm always wondering about the power of healing in that environment. And I always see patients coming back over and over and over again, readmission into the hospital. And I ask myself, is this the idea of healthcare, considering the amount of money that is being spent here? I really believe the African culture in itself, infused in our healthcare system, is really an answer to what healthcare should be. It should be a healing process. Walking into the hospital is not just about being delivered medication at the right time to the right patient, which is a lot of the focus here. Did we meet the checklist? Did we mark all the dots? Really, it's about that person, the total human being, body, mind, and soul. And that is African culture, body, mind, and soul. So when the African is delivering healthcare in the African setting, it's not something out of their environment. It's part of who they are. Ubuntu, they care about people. So naturally, medical tourism will work in Africa very well. It's unfortunate that at the moment, the infrastructure might not be there, the investment might not be there, and many people have not really seen the continent as the place where that can happen. But if you put the pieces together and start looking at the labor force that you need, it's already there, you're educating them, and then they're traveling all over the world to work in hospitals in London, the United States, and Australia. So they're already there, they're being trained there. So all we need is hospitality to come together with healthcare, and we can start talking medical tourism. So obviously, medical tourism works well when the digital infrastructure is in place. To separate the two it makes it difficult. Digital infrastructure makes it possible for medical records to be transferred all over the world. It makes it possible for that expediency to happen, rapid transmission, rapid care, rapid delivery, and better outcomes. So as we've seen, the use of mobile technology, for instance, in most of Africa has really been, I'm going to go up to this next slide first. The use of mobile technology. This is just numbers for sub-Saharan Africa. I know Zimbabwe is one of the highest penetration countries when it comes to mobile technology. Not because, we have a great penetration rate per se, but because we have multiple carriers and we don't have the greatest network. So a person usually carries multiple phones from multiple, you've got Verizon and you've got AT&T on the other side. That's exactly what's happening. And so our numbers reflect about 120% penetration rate. But here's what's great about that. Because of those numbers, we were able in Zimbabwe to disrupt the banking sector. 95% of our transactions in Zimbabwe take place on the mobile phone. Here in the United States with Bank of America, you've got Zelle, you've got Chase, all on Zelle, and all these other apps, but still, you don't have that level of penetration. We're talking about 12 million people in Zimbabwe living in rural communities, and yet all using mobile phones for transferring money. It speaks volumes about how much you can do in that environment because your people are already adapted to it, you see. So the reason I wanted to bring these numbers, this is just the sub-Saharan African region. We're not talking about the rest of Africa. So just knowing that you've got that many people on their mobile phones, that means healthcare records can be on the mobile phone. That means you can email your doctor. I know right now, as we speak, Kaiser is looking at the next phase of healthcare, which is going to be in the home, through the television set, through the mobile phone. So already, even the most advanced countries in the world are already looking at the cost of healthcare and being hospitalized and saying, you know what, let's push for preventative care. Let's push for people to have better care within their own homes. So for Africa, we're leapfrogging, just like we did in mobile technology. We didn't have to go through CDMA and that pathway to GSM. We went straight to GSM. And that's what we have an opportunity to do again. In healthcare, we have an opportunity to go straight to preventative medicine in the home, using the phone. So these are just the SIM card connections. We're looking at a projection of almost 1.1 billion there in 2025. So that's the opportunity. I think that gives us insight on where we're going and how healthcare can be delivered in the future. So I'm not sure how many of us have been able to visit this amazing natural wonder of the world, right? But there's something about that, the calmness that you get. Someone earlier on talked about non-communicable diseases that are on the rise in Africa because we're adapting a different lifestyle, different food, different diet, right? There's something about being in our natural habitat that allows us to have that calmness, that engagement with nature, that allows us to heal, right? So imagine again that knee surgery. Cosmetic surgery doesn't have to be, I'm not going to take away from those that need to get other stuff done, with their bodies, but the healing. I'm just trying to get you to imagine the post-surgical experience in a place that allows you that calmness, that healing. Not the bells and whistles, the constant, opening in and out of your room. I'm not sure who's had a recent hospitalization or who's visited someone in the hospital right here in the US and have seen how it has become so routine, where sometimes you're not a person anymore. You are a name on a piece of paper that says, I must see so-and-so. You're attached to a medication at 9 o'clock. That's our reality. That's our reality, where the patient ratio for the doc might be 1 to 20, right? Because the cost of healthcare is so high. So medical tourism is definitely a possibility. In my region, obviously, I'm excited about Southern Africa. That's where I'm from, and that's what I speak of. Despite all the problems in Zimbabwe, the political problems in Zimbabwe, we still continue to have high ratings on our tourism, particularly in Victoria Falls. So as I've said before, the combination of the digital platform with the skill set. So where do I come from when it comes to the skill set? The fact that it is focused on STEM, and I think if Cambridge were to reveal the results over the past 10 to 15 years of the Zimbabwean students that well exceed the British students even, you will see that we rank very high in terms of our outcomes at O-level and at A-level. So this is not something that will be impossible to do. I think at this point now, Zimbabwe has about 6 universities. But we can grow that space and become the hub for educating more and more doctors and nurses that go into spaces around Africa. So we certainly have everything it takes. What I'm here to do is to share that with you today and make you realize that despite what you hear in the press, I know our reputation, our brand reputation has not been great in Zimbabwe, but I'm a living testimony of it. I'm a living testimony of someone that left beautiful, sunny San Francisco to go and live in Zimbabwe. And I'm very happy I did that when I did it, as difficult as it might have been. And I just wanted to come here today and just share my journey and show the possibilities of Southern Africa. I know there's a lot of representation for the northern part of Africa in this room, Nigeria particularly, but there's also great possibility in Southern Africa. Victoria Falls borders Zambia. We're also very close to Botswana. Even though those are all small countries, but the possibilities are really looking at it from the sub-Saharan region. And that's when you see the real potential investment there. Let me move on. Anyway, so here we are. This is your road to recovery. This is what medical tourism is really about. You can have the greatest surgeons around the world, but if your recovery process is not great, you're likely to have multiple visits into that hospital. You're likely to have to get that surgery done again. And this is what Africa can offer. These are all potential environments in which medical tourism can happen. Thank you.